I want you to draw what I'm going to show you on a piece of paper for this lesson. I will go over most of the organelles and explain how they are all connected. Use the entire paper though, don't be shy. Draw a huge circle or an ellipse or roundy rectangle, whatever you want to call it. That's the cell membrane. And let's draw a circle in the cell. That's the nucleus. Right outside of the nucleus, there is an organelle called endoplasmic reticulum, or ER. It's a network of membranes. Some of it is covered in ribosomes. That part of the ER is the rough ER because it's bumpy with all the ribosomes attached. The smooth portion is called the smooth ER. Speaking of ribosomes, they're found all over inside of the cell, not just on the surface of ER. Then there's the Golgi apparatus, or sometimes called Golgi complex or Golgi body, because it was discovered by someone named I can't remember his name. Golgi? The Golgi apparatus looks like lots of vesicles combined together. These lines are for the cytoskeleton. The cytoskeleton helps the cell maintain its shape. It's like the skeleton of the cell. It's also used to transport materials inside the cell. It's like a highway system within the cell. Finally, let's also draw some lysosomes. Alright, now let's use a different color. The nucleus is like a brain of the cell. It stores information. Most importantly, it contains the genetic material, DNA. You will learn more about DNA in the future units, but what you should know now is that the DNA tells the cell what to do. How exactly does it do that? Well, DNA commands the cell to make proteins and shows the cell how to make these proteins. Remember, proteins are really important. Why? One of the reasons is that proteins can be enzymes, right? Enzymes make chemical reactions happen in living things. Without chemical reactions, life is dead. Without proteins, no reactions will take place. Therefore, no life. It's just impossible for me to explain the importance of proteins in this one video. But think about it. You're alive because there are chemical reactions going on inside of your body. You can think, you can feel pain or love. It's all because of chemistry in your body. And what makes chemical reaction possible in your body? Proteins. This is what happens. DNA contains information the cell uses to make proteins. But DNA is so important that it's always kept inside of the nucleus. So the DNA makes photocopies of itself and sends copies to outside of the nucleus. These copies are called RNA. It's like if you have an old recipe book from your great-great-grandma and you want to take one of the recipes somewhere to your friends, you will probably make a copy or write it down. You wouldn't take the original book out of the house, right? It's the same for DNA. It sends RNA out of the nucleus. DNA is kept in the nucleus. Now, RNA has the information to make proteins. So which organelle is responsible for synthesizing proteins? Ribosomes. That's why ribosomes are the only organelle that can be found both in prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. They are crucial in all living cells. Ribosomes are all over inside of the cell because, again, proteins are needed everywhere. After leaving the nucleus, RNA goes to ribosomes for protein synthesis. RNA, of course, goes to ribosomes on the rough ER too. Then, all kinds of proteins are made. Brand new proteins are transported all over the cell through the network of ER's membranes. Some of them are packed into vesicles and sent out into the cytoplasm and shipped all over inside of the cell. These vesicles are often carried by motor proteins using cytoskeletons as tracks. Remember, cytoskeletons are like highways in the cell. Some vesicles will end up at the Golgi apparatus. The Golgi apparatus is like a sorting facility of proteins. Proteins are packaged in vesicles there. Why? Well, some vesicles will leave the cell because, proteins are necessary outside of the cell too. Those vesicles are sent to the cell membrane. Other vesicles will go to lysosomes. So the Golgi apparatus makes those vesicles and label their destinations. It's like a post office of the cell. Lysosomes are like a trash can of the cell. They break down waste materials and foreign invaders like viruses and so on. Do you want to guess what they use to break down those materials? Enzymes. And do you remember what vesicles from the Golgi apparatus contain? Enzymes, also known as proteins. See, everything's connected. All the cell organelles work together to accomplish a simple yet complex task of producing and delivering proteins. If you try to memorize these organelles one by one, you'll forget anyway. So try to remember this entire process as a whole. By the way, for the cell to do these jobs, energy is required. So let's add one last organelle in your drawing. Mitochondria. Cells use sugar, which is one of the macromolecules, to obtain energy. Just like our digestive system breaks down food into smaller molecules, mitochondria break down sugar into smaller molecules to obtain energy. And this process is called cellular respiration. Inside the cell, there are molecules called ADP and ATP. You can think of an ADP molecule as an empty battery and an ATP molecule as a charged battery. A mitochondrion is like a battery charger. When sugar gets broken down in the mitochondrion, it charges batteries. So ADP molecules become ATP molecules. ATPs are used all over the cell. For example, they are used at ribosomes when proteins are synthesized because energy is required for that process. Once used, they become ADPs, the empty batteries. For the cell and its organelles to keep functioning, mitochondria have to keep producing ATPs. You will learn more about this process, cellular respiration, in the next unit.